Top Secret Documents, the FBI versus Trump. Welcome to Mark and Pete. Here's a thought.
FBI spy with my little eye. Something's beginning to look very sinister. America's apple pie is crumbling dry, and the states are getting harder to administer. The FBI has seized, apparently, some very sensitive documents from former United States President Donald Trump, from his estate. Now, the scenes have been dramatic. We've seen it all on the media. But what does this all mean, not just for Donald Trump, but also for America?
Yes, this is an unprecedented, with the actual meaning of the word. There is no precedent for this treatment of a former president. You don't investigate them. You don't do that, because as soon as you do that, what happens is that your political opponents become your actual enemies. And you have it in other countries around the world, not in America. You have someone gets in as president, then they immediately put their opponent in jail. You end up with a lack of democracy, because it's just who is the most violent and ruthless gets to the top. Now, there's an element of that in US politics, but if it's got to this stage that a former president is investigated by the new administration, I think this is not a Watergate moment, but a watershed moment. This is a moment in which we are seeing, some people put it like that, like this. It's a turn from being a democracy to being, I don't know, a third world country in terms of its politics.
Yes. Well, Mr. Trump's Palm Beach residence, Mar-a-Lago, was the one that we were really focusing on when it came to the raid. Although some people have said it's not actually a raid. Technically, we don't really bother. The fact of the matter is the FBI went in, and apparently more than 20 boxes of items were taken away, covering everything from binders, photographs, handwritten note, unspecified information about the president of France, apparently, and a clemency letter written on behalf of longtime Trump ally Roger Stone. Now, the fact of the matter is that what we really are sort of trying to understand here is why. Why have they actually gone in there? What was it that sparked this? Was there a tip-off? Was there just a terrible mistake in terms of taking this warrant that the FBI agents decided to sort of move in on this? They claim it is in violations, according to the FBI, that Donald Trump has violated the Espionage Act, which makes it illegal to keep or transmit potentially dangerous national security information. Is he really in that situation? Now, we do know that Donald Trump has hinted, and some of his allies have suggested, that he might be running for president again. That's not official yet at this point in time, but either way, I think that we do seem to be seeing out another political game. If he has documentation, if there's something that he's done wrong, I'm sure that will come out over time. But maybe there is the longer term gain here, which is that actually we're trying to see a battle between the Democrats and the Republicans. Do we see that actually everyone, certainly on one side of the coin, is actually just simply trying to stop Trump getting back in to run the United States? And is that really what this is all about? What do you think about this, Clergyman Pete?
It seems, just from our analysis over the past few years, that there is a visceral hatred of Donald Trump across the mainstream media, across what's sometimes called the deep state, the equivalent of the civil service over in the US, and amongst Democrat politicians and some Republicans. They tend to be called these days Republican in name only, Rhino, the helpful acronym. But there's such a hatred of him that they're blinded to how ludicrous their actions seem. I don't think there needed to be a command issued from Joe Biden to go and do this. I don't think there was. I think it seems to me that this was carried out because they were investigating Donald Trump, but they were blind to how over the top their procedures, the normal procedures, were being used, because they shouldn't be doing it. because they didn't do this, for example, when Hillary Clinton, who was a candidate for US president, had been Secretary of State, was keeping top secret classified documents on servers in her bathroom, it seems, and on mobile phones where they possibly could and possibly were hacked and accessed by foreign powers.
Yeah.
It seems that they were. Now, she wasn't prosecuted, she wasn't investigated. And the investigation, famously, just wasn't going to proceed. And this was announced by the director of the FBI. Now, Trump is in more of a recognized position of being able to take home classified documents by simply declassifying them. And I suppose that's the final thing I would say, is that as Trump was president, he could declassify any documents. And some people were claiming, I've noticed some legal experts in the media say, well, he couldn't just declassify them. He has to fill in a particular form. Otherwise, this can't be done. But no, it's a constitutional part of the office of president that he can declassify and classify any documents. He's the only person who could do it, but he can do it. And it seems to me that if he took them home, he was declassifying them. And I think that would be argued in court. So it looks to me like you were saying that this raid took place as part of a political campaign against Trump. But I don't think you need to say that there were top-down orders to do it. It's just the constant fight against Trump going on.
Well, I would agree with that.
Sorry, just to finish, they botched it. They haven't. It seems, otherwise it would have come out by now, that they haven't found anything.
Not yet. But what I find interesting is that it was the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland who personally approved the warrant, defended federal.
Well, he approved applying for the warrant. Yeah,
yes.
It had to go
and defended federal agents on Thursday as dedicated, patriotic public servants. And this is the bit that I was getting to, which is, this is him speaking, I will not stand by silently while their integrity is unfairly attacked, he told reporters. What about the integrity of the United States, or even, dare I say, the integrity of a former United States president?
There's a little bit more to that in the timeline, because initially an unnamed spokesman said Merrick Garland was unaware of the exact timing and data that it would happen. And then he came out because he saw this as a way of, sort of, if you own it and go even further and say, you're demeaning the reputation of the FBI agents, then of course you're able to take hold of the news cycle, and that's what he was trying to do. But I think that this shows that it's just damage control, because it's obviously gone wrong, and the Biden administration, Joe Biden's office is denying that he had any knowledge of it. So I think that they realize that it's working against them. To the extent that, so what do you think, Businessman Mark? Shall we give the alternative view? Who might have leaked the fact that there might be documents?
I wonder whether there was a game plan going on here, where, should we say, a charade, maybe.
Could be 4D chess, as people used to say about Trump.
Well, here's the thing, because just to conclude from my perspective, irrespective of who instigated this charade or other, I do think it's a milestone moment. So one prediction I would say is, maybe when we do sort of either go past the midterms or possibly even get into the main election for running for the next president of the United States, this, I think, will live long in the memory of many voters. So maybe that's something we could invite our lovely listeners to give their views as to what this might do when it comes to voting.
Yes, I think that's right. And because I just want to spell out the alternative point of view, just speculation. We've got no evidence for this. But what if Trump used to be accused or celebrated for playing 4D chess with politics before things went wrong for him? But he could, of course, possibly could have had let it be known that he had documents there that could be dodgy, and tempted them. Of course, he couldn't order the FBI to come in or anything, but he tempted them to do it because he knew that if it happened, he would be suddenly seen once again as the victim of the establishment, and he can run on his "Make America Great Again" mantra like he did before, and sweep to victory like back in 2016, throwing away the Democrats and convention and laughing at the media. And wouldn't we all love that to happen? Or would we? Let us know in the comments below. And what was it you asked? You asked them something, Mark. You asked them to say something.
Well, give the view on whether you think that this is a turning point in which way that you might vote.
Yes, which way would you vote? I mean, most of our listeners are in the US, so do let us know. Well, that's it for Mark and Pete for this episode. Catch you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.